Welcome back, everyone. We are on part 4 of the 2020 Smark Out Moment Awards, breaking down the best and the worst of what happened in WWE this year. We've talked technical awards in part 1 and fart 1. Look at that. I'm pulling a Drew McIntyre here. We did the writing awards in part 2, the programming awards in part 3. So now we're going to move on to the on-air personality awards. It's kind of a mouthful. I've never been able to figure out a better way to judge that kind of grouping, but instead of doing everything as just performer awards like we did with the AEW thing, the WWE side, we have a little bit more to break down. So we separate them as wrestlers in the next part and then everyone else in this part. So this is going to be talking about the broadcast teams. It's going to be talking about the extra characters, the authority figures, and so on and so forth there. So as we've been doing here, drop your comments below, tell us your thoughts on what we've been saying, give us your lists, and so on and so forth. We're just going to roll along here and start things off with the best and the worst manager or valet of the year. So our list of possible options for this, if you check on the page on smarkoutmoment.com that I've been doing this year, where I've actually got the whole list up for people instead of just, doing this for myself and then nobody necessarily knowing everything. The only people that we had down for managers and valets were Eddie Dennis, Lana, Malcolm Bivens, MVP, Paul Heyman, Robert Stone, Sami Zayn, Scarlett, and Zelina Vega. I don't think I'm forgetting anybody. If I am, though, then they must not have made that big of an impression for me. My worst I have is Lana. I absolutely hated her as Bobby Lashley's valet / manager, and anything else that anybody else did just pales in comparison to how bad that crap was. Who do you guys have as worst?
I've got to go with Robert Stone. Robert Stone, the bit with Shotzi was fun for a while, and it felt like they were maybe doing something with him, but then he disappeared off the face of the earth. Aaliyah is still the de facto loser in any match she's in. I don't feel like he's been effective in his role, unfortunately.
Has to be Lana for me as well with Tony. Stuff that she's done since, you can either love it or hate it, but at least she feels like she's going in a bit more of a slightly better direction. But the stuff that she was doing with Bobby Lashley at the start of the year as the manager was terrible. And then the really follow-up stuff with this whole alliance with Natalya as well wasn't much better either. So
yeah,
Lana in a it's odd to say that Lana this year in the wrestling capacity was even better than she was in the manager capacity, and that's not saying much because the wrestling wasn't super great either, but that's how bad she was as the manager this year.
Yeah. For the best, I had Zelina Vega down, but eventually that didn't work out because they just had her do like nothing other than try to poison Montez Ford. And instead, MVP came through and made the Hurt Business just amazing. Now, he is a performer just the same, but for that matter, Lana was able to wrestle and Zelina Vega was able to wrestle and Eddie Dennis can wrestle and whatever. So even though they are still wrestlers for the most part, it's full-blown manager type of situation with some of these people too. And MVP is just so friggin' good. That's it. He's just so good.
I have to agree with Tony. It's MVP this year. And an award that is almost guaranteed to go to Paul Heyman, who was fantastic this year with Roman Reigns. MVP gave new life to Bobby Lashley after these gentlemen have just said Lana was dragging him way down. MVP made Apollo Crews credible this year. He helped bring Shelton Benjamin back to the forefront, and Cedric Alexander is finally a champion. It's MVP, and I'm so glad he's had his best run in WWE nearly a decade after he left.
Yeah, MVP. Get me need to go for free here. MVP is the correct answer for this one because he's very prominently featured on Raw throughout this year, and Raw has been like a really sucky show, but he's been one of the shining lights in it. Him and the Hurt Business. He's helped bring them all into periods where they were floundering in their careers into being in a position of prominence. The only one that really, I think, pulled him anywhere close was Paul Heyman, but I think that Paul Heyman's currently in a very like facilitating role at the moment, rather than being like an active part of the Roman Reigns act. So I think, and he didn't really do much with Brock Lesnar earlier in the year either. So realistically, it's only MVP is the right choice.
Moving on here to the best and the worst authority figures. These were Adam Pearce on Raw and 205 Live and SmackDown, and I don't think anywhere else. I think it was just those three, but he might have popped up in main event or something. There was, excuse me, there was Johnny Saint in NXT UK, although you might not even remember that was a thing. Pat Buck, who I think had only popped up on Raw. I don't think he was an authority figure on SmackDown at any point, but he might have been. There was Stephanie McMahon and Triple H and Vince McMahon. Obviously, Sid Scala in NXT UK and William Regal in NXT. My worst is Johnny Saint, if not just because he was the one that did the least, but he's also just never really been all that great of an authority figure. He's there as a name, and Sid Scala does all the work.
We'll go with Vince McMahon as the worst. Both for the fact that he is the actual de facto leader of WWE, and the WWE, in terms of its at least television product, for the most part this year has been significantly bad. I guess is the only really way to put it. It's just been a bad show. But also his pull as a character and the charisma that he used to carry is non-existent anymore. He is a frail old man cutting promos whenever he's put out there now. So even that's part of his character, which you could occasionally rely on, even if everything else was bad, is now completely dissipated. So yeah, Vince is the worst for me.
So this is a hard category for me because, I could give it to Sid Scala for stuff outside the ring. I could give it to Vince for all the reasons Callum just mentioned. But I'm going to go with Pat Buck, if for no other reason than he was a central focus in putting Nia Jax on TV. And no.
The best authority figure, if he wouldn't have said the unique thing with Braun Strowman and Rhea Ripley's whole thing, then maybe Triple H would get there. But yeah, you lost your win with those things. To me, it was between Adam Pearce and William Regal, and it's weird. I just naturally put William Regal down on here, and he is the pick that I have written down. But the more that I'm thinking about it, I think I'm going to have to go Adam Pearce.
I would like it if Adam Pearce would show, like, if they ever went back to like strict general managers and he could just focus on one show, it'd be nice. But it's clear that they realized this year, and rightfully so, okay, we need to put some guy in a suit to make some matches. And Adam Pearce is great for that. He's always been a good character, great promo. I don't like and that is official line. I think it's a bit cheesy. But Adam Pearce did great. I'd like to see more of him in the coming year. But my choice is William Regal, because William Regal is the best general manager of all time.
He didn't say War Games, though.
He did say War. No, that's the company's fault, Tony, because they wanted you to go to the digital feeds. He said it on Twitter because they taped after and just released it as a digital exclusive.
Oh, that still doesn't count then to me.
War Games.
I kind of feel like I have to go to William Regal by default, just because he's just at least with Adam. The thing that I don't like about Adam Pearce is that there's no real understanding of what his level of power actually is. Because I remember him saying quotes like the idea of, like, if I could fire Braun Strowman, then I would. Just, okay, so you can't actually fire anyone, so you've got actually no power whatsoever. That you can make matches. Why are you making matches for the main event and you already have your main event set up and stuff like that? It's just a bit all over the place. I don't think William Regal did a great job as general manager this year, just because I think NXT's booking was problematic. And so his role in a lot of these things, like having Keith Lee allowing Keith Lee to surrender the North American Championship. Why did you book a title versus title match if you were just going to make the person that won that surrender his title anyway, or going to allow him to surrender his title. Just a lot of the stuff, I think, in terms of just authority figures in the company in general, was pretty poor. So William Regal wins by default of just being, at least we know that he is the authority figure in NXT, and there's no
also
issues
said
around it.
playa, and that was very good.
He also what?
He also said playa when he booked that triple threat match.
Yeah.
Although I do have to question William Regal's authority, considering the fact that like 2 of his superstars have been kidnapped for several months and he hasn't done anything about it.
Oh, that's not even the only people that got kidnapped,
Oh yeah, multiple
too,
people have
because
been kidnapped. Yeah, throughout this.
Legado del Fantasma, yeah.
Yeah. So really, and also Roderick Strong with Dexter Lumis. He actually has a legitimate kidnapper on his roster who he gives title opportunities to.
So
well,
that
let's not
is
forget that
it's
he
5
also
people.
He also led Cameron Grimes to the van. Come on now, he has a van for dudes.
He's like, you want to be number 6? 6 people got kidnapped on NXT
That's
this
weird.
year.
NXT had like a kidnapping they can go down this year. It's not great.
6 people as of December 27th. We don't know if the next episode of NXT is gonna have like Indy Hartwell gets kidnapped or something.
It's not even casting the fact that they stole Rhea Ripley's push.
Yeah.
Push. Let's go to other / extra character, ancillary character, sporting character, oddball characters, whatever you want to call it. It's the characters that are added into the mix just sort of out of nowhere. They're not really part of the show, but there's a laundry list of characters. This is one of the things that nobody else keeps track of. I don't know why the hell I do, but I do it every year.
Because you're so damn dedicated, Tony.
Maybe it's that. Maybe I'm just nuts.
Yeah.
Nobody's even made it a point of being like, oh, this is so cool that you keep track of it. Everybody else is just like, who turned heel? That kind of thing. But I've got everything written down here from like the wedding officiant for Lana and Lashley's wedding on the January 6th episode of Raw. Mrs. Dad popped up on an episode of February 7th SmackDown. There's the guy who got hit with an arrow from the competition or the decathlon from the Viking Profits thing. There's Dr. Kirschenbaum, which is the second time that they've ever used the name Dr. Kirschenbaum. This is crazy. There's the one that I think that Rob might be picking for the worst, which was the tentacle monster in the dumpster.
I'll just stop you right there. That's the fucking worst. There's a fucking tentacle monster, man. What is this? I want answers. Where did he come from? Where did he go? What are we doing here?
How was there a dumpster monster at Backlash, yet the Wyatt Swamp fight at Extreme Rules has just extras? People
Guy who got set on fire.
Yeah, like just
which
guys.
Would later be Bray Wyatt.
So it's just guys in the swamp fight, but in the dumpster outside of WWE Performance Center, there's a weird, whatever the thing was from Star Wars.
What? Why? Like, I want somebody to go, oh, that happened because it's a hand. Ha! Isn't that funny? It's a hand. Like, God.
We've got some other like major what the hell kind of things. There's Mandy Rose's hair with the googly eyes.
I like that.
There's Joseph Park who popped up for to help out AJ Styles for a little bit there. The guy that Bianca Belair beat at weightlifting. There's a lot from the Hurt Business of characters that like I could only classify them of things like guy sitting in Bobby Lashley's chair at catering, guy wearing a New Day shirt that they take the shirt off and give him a Hurt Business shirt, like guy who they pour milk all over.
That's
which was one I love that part. There's a lot of milk in that. The woman who gave Otis the court notice for them being on delay. Fake Andre the Giant and Yeti during the Drake Maverick as Hulk Hogan and Killian Dane as Shockmaster segment on Halloween Havoc. Gobbledygooker, Friendship Frog, it's all over the place here. Even Tommy / Reginald, who is now the sommelier for Carmella.
Again, I really hope he's got a different name every week.
Yeah, just Jason next week, and then he's Ronaldo, another one. So you're going with the dumpster monster. I think that I'm going to go with Eric Rowan's Spider for the worst.
That thing got killed, and we lost everything. I blame Drew McIntyre for everything 2020.
Who's your worst, Callum?
Well, the dumpster monster is hard to beat, but I'm going to go with Aaliyah and Angie Mysterio.
Well, wait a minute. They were like regular characters after a while.
They're still extras, yeah.
Yeah, they're still extras. They're not under contract as far as I'm aware.
Oh, well,
so.
then that's hard to beat, though. But if there wasn't that tentacle monster, I'd agree with you.
I mean, there's Demi Burnett was also an option, but at least she had some funny moments with Ivor.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'll go with Mysterio family.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to beat that. Who is this one? I'm not remembering who this one. Sarah, girl Corbin shows around backstage at SmackDown 8-7. They gave her the name Sarah enough for me to put that down. I don't know what that was all about.
I don't know if I wasn't watching or what, but I have no idea who that is.
Oh, you know what? There are a couple other bad ones too that I should have written down as secondary picks or honorable mentions. Bruce Pritchard's son, Kane, was a janitor at Money in the Bank.
I thought that was
funny. Segment with the Money in the Bank type stuff was...
He caused Dana Brooke the match.
Yeah, that whole thing. And she nearly knocked her head off. There was the fake Prince in the mirror on NXT, that one episode. That was weird. The Wobbly Walrus only had one episode.
You know what? Again, Tentacle Monster hard to beat. Wobbly Walrus is up there though because they trademark it and they go through the trouble of bringing in a Paul Heyman puppet for the Funhouse and having this weird he's got tension with the puppet Vince. Isn't that funny? And they go, nah, just kidding. We dropped it.
Yeah. So for the best, I am going Pat McAfee. I don't know if he would really at this point be considered part of the roster. I don't think that he's signed.
He's technically got a contract as an on-air personality.
He is under a contract?
Yeah, he's been with them. How many years has he been with them? I think he's been...
I didn't think that he was necessarily signed to anything. I thought that he was just sort of freelancing it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's true. So I guess he could count.
If that doesn't count for you and you want a backup option, Gobbledygooker, I guess, probably would have been the best because Gobbledygooker won the 24/7 title. It's a former champion at this point now. And I thought that was kind of funny. I did like Joseph Park. Wish that they would have carried that on. So it would have been one of those three, I guess. But yeah, Pat McAfee, of course. If it counts in your book, then Pat McAfee's far above and beyond Brandy Lauren being in the hot tub or something.
So it's almost a tie for me between Dr. Kirschenbaum and Joseph Park. Kirschenbaum only because I later found out he's the Ligma doctor, and that's popped me ever since. But Joseph Park on SmackDown might be my pick because this guy was hysterical in TNA, and he's doing stuff with AJ, of course. And then he goes on talking smack with Woods and AJ, and he's doing this whole thing about punching in the numbers for his phenomenal Intercontinental Statistics system, and he finds out that the Intercontinental Champion is going to be Tito Santana. And they're trying so hard not to break, but he's like, oh my God, there's something wrong with my system. It says Tito Santana. That was one of the funnier things of the year for me, so I'm going to say Joseph Park, but yes, honorable mention goes to Dr. Ligma.
So if it counts, it has to be Pat McAfee, just because Pat McAfee's been great all year. If that's a bit of a if that's going a bit too far, but I don't know what category he fits into if he doesn't, because he needs to be the top of something. So I'm guessing this.
Did we give him best for celebrity?
No, we didn't do the celebrity.
Awards.
Oh, yeah. Well, damn it, Tony! Why'd you take that out this year? That was
nobody-
his.
Because there was
screw it.
basically nobody that came in, yeah.
Yeah, it would have
But-
been Gronkowski, Pat McAfee, and Debbie Burnett. I think would have been the only ones.
Well, we could crap on Gronkowski and giving love to McAfee. That was it.
Oh, there you go. Worst is Gronkowski, best is Pat McAfee. We all agree.
All right.
Yeah, people will agree on that one. But if we go outside of McAfee, then like Joseph Parker's a good choice. But I kind of just like it was a really like short thing, but the thing that popped me the most out of any like extra character was the Vince McMahon puppet on commentary during the Firefly Funhouse match.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
In the NWO segment, where he's just saying, "This is such good shit." Just like that's yeah,
That's
that popped
hysterical.
me huge. Yeah, so I always loved the Vince McMahon puppet.
Yeah, the Vince puppet's pretty great. You know, here's one that I totally forgot. I'm looking through the list. The Raw Underground dancers.
Oh man, bring them back. Those poor
That
girls
was-
only got 1 week.
That was pretty sad. They're just like, there's like what, 3 girls, I think, and they like didn't want to be there. They weren't even like scantily clad, so it didn't look like it was all that risque. It looked like it was really just like 3 of the people's girlfriends just decided to dance in the corner, and it's like it's disappointing, very depressing. Where are we on now? We are on the best and the worst ring announcers. So I always specify this. I don't know why people get them confused. Ring announcer is the person who is in the ring announcing, not the commentators. A lot of people always go like, "Oh, one of the best ring announcers of all time is Jim Ross," and it's like he's not a ring announcer. That's not how it works. He's a commentator. But some people don't quite understand that. So the options were Alicia Taylor, who is part of NXT. I'm Andy Shepherd from NXT UK. There's Francesca Brown from NXT UK. Greg Hamilton, Josiah Williams was an NXT announcer for a little bit. Kayla Braxton did a little bit of ring announcing. Mike Rome, of course, is on Monday Night Raw, and Sarah Schreiber on NXT. The worst is Francesca Brown. It's not that she's anything particularly bad, but it's just my least favorite out of the bunch.
I echo that statement and those sentiments.
I just went with Alicia Taylor, not Alicia Tyler. Alicia Tyler's a she's from Whose Lines Anyway or something like that. I think so. It's Alicia Taylor. I went with.
I like her.
I just
different.
don't feel anything towards her, and I think she's especially because like she's one of the ones on NXT, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I just feel like she's in a too prominent a position for her level of ability.
Rhea Ripley, that kind of thing. That's there's always like one that stands out.
Hey, I said Ginny.
anybody's- Yeah, there's the whole Jinner. I don't know why Ginny's spelled Jinnegh. Jinner. But you know, certain people have their types of things. Like I always really liked how the Fink said gold dust, because he never really said the ST. It was always just like gold dust. It's like gold Greg Hamilton's the best though. Greg Hamilton's just great.
I'm cheating on this one. Technically, the Fink introduced Edge and Randy Orton, so I'm going the Fink.
Oh, I didn't write that down.
I was actually going to go with Finkel as well, just because he passed away this year. And I
Damn
know
right.
realistically, it should be either Mike Rome or Greg Hamilton. Greg Hamilton. probably
Realistically,
was
it's
there,
Greg Hamilton,
Yeah.
but we're going with the Fink.
Yeah,
still
you know,
Greg.
I totally forgot that they did that thing with the Fink. Just for the sake of it, the Fink wins it. Greg Hamilton, you win it next year. Yeah, you won it last year too, I'm pretty sure. But yeah, they did the Fink thing. I totally forgot about that. Yeah. God, Fink was so good.
I'm a little upset that you forgot about that you wrote down Sarah.
Oh,
Little
because I mean,
Sarah.
that was a one shot type of deal. Sarah's at least done a little bit more.
Oh, Sarah was at least a one-shot type of deal. Calm down, put some respect on the Fink's name.
You know what though? Not as a ring announcer, but as an interviewer, a broadcast correspondent, which we'll get into for our next thing. I've come around to Sarah. I thought that she was really bad before, and over this past year, I've been like, you know what, Sarah's actually not all that bad. Like, she's actually pretty good for what they have her doing and everything. I think that she could be better. So she's not going to win my best broadcast correspondent, but I hate when they do the whole thing with the ring announcers where they're just sort of like, well, you could do it. And they just think that people can be ring announcers. It's not what they're really necessarily there for. Like, Kayla, she does a good job with like the host of the bump and doing things like, talking smack and whatever like that. You can't just give somebody a microphone and be like, you're a ring announcer now. You got to have the booming voice for it.
For over a decade.
You can't do it well. That's what it is. Like a Greg Hamilton type, he has the voice for it. Obviously, the Fink, of course, he was like born to do that. But when they just give a microphone to like Kathy Kelly or something, and they're just like, you do ring announcing, and then it ends up not working out all that well. Well, that's because they're not that type of person. They don't have that type of talent necessarily. But we had way more people for the broadcast correspondence because this incorporates interviewers, it's panelists, it's people that pop up on like Talking Smack type stuff, people that host different TV shows, or people like on WWE Backstage or on the Bump or Sunday Damal or Waluha, if you pronounce it that way. I don't know if you pronounce it that way or not, but there's most of the people nobody would even know. I can't tell you a single thing about Madonna from Sunday Damal or Yumeda Sanchez from WWE Saturday Night. I've never seen.
We'll get to know the Madonna people pretty shortly with NXT UK, I imagine. I mean,
Probably
NXT India.
Yeah. So it's like somebody like Radzi from NXT UK. I've gotten to know him a little bit just from doing the interviews and everything, but I couldn't tell you anything about most of those. So the foreign kind of correspondence, as well as there's a guy from NXT, Dennis Arnell. I don't know if I've ever actually seen him, but he's on their list of being like that he's a guy. I don't know.
I think he was doing either backstage correspondence or ring announcing during like the house show loops.
Maybe that's what it would have been, yeah. So I can't speak to him necessarily.
Remember house shows?
Yeah, that's not going to be a thing anymore. They lost a couple people this year as well. They lost Kathy Kelly this year. She had left at the very beginning of the year. Christian and Paige and Renee Young and all the people that were on WWE Backstage no longer a thing. Same with CM Punk. Kat Marino, Kathy Campanelli, she had been hired, I think, last year and was released this year.
She was doing the NXT house show loops.
There was Johnny Quasto. I like that guy. And he
again
went away.
Those NXT house show loop people got fucked this year.
Yeah. And then you got the WWE Now people like Nina Wu, and I still don't know how to pronounce her name, Kasali Bones. Quetzali. She is so good looking. That's all I know about her. My worst, I'm going to go with Kelly for her hosting job of Where Are They Now?
I didn't even know that was a thing.
Yep, she did one episode of the show Where Are They Now? And wasn't all that good.
I'm going to go with Peter Rosenberg for the fucking panels because just complete miss for me.
I like Peter.
I like Roberts better.
I'm going to go with
Mount Rushmore at Callum. Who's better, Peter or Roberts?
He couldn't be better.
It's hard. I'd go with Peter over Sam Roberts.
Well, I win.
I find Sam Roberts so annoying.
Yeah.
But my choice for worst correspondent is JBL, and it will always be JBL until they stop giving him money.
I love when Callum shits on people.
JBL's just like one of the worst human beings they've ever hired.
Actually, I don't have JBL on the list. I forgot to add him in there.
You didn't say any of the panelists, like the Booker T's and the Jerry Lawlers.
Booker T's on the list. There's a whole list on there. I didn't have JBL for some reason, though. But yeah, Booker T. There's Dan Vollmeyer, David Otunga. He's been gone for a while too. Jonathan Coachman, Josiah Williams, Ryan Popola, otherwise known as Rob.
I like Volmeyer. Volmeyer, he recently just started following all of us on Twitter, so we appreciate it, Dan.
Yeah. So who was it you picked, Callum? You picked JBL and
And I picked Rosenberg.
Rosenberg. So on the best side of things, honestly, as much as I thought that I should just give it to Renee Young, and then I was like, I really should just give it to Charlie. I kind of want to give it to Mackenzie Mitchell. It's weird. Just the idea of her being able to say, all right, back to you guys at the desk, makes it so much better, which is not even like anybody else's call. She's just allowed to do that. I think overall, I probably have to go Charlie, but shout out to Mackenzie Mitchell. There's a couple that I am actually a big fan of. I like Matt Camp. I like Ryan Popola. He is just kind of always, like, Sasha Banks is great. Like, just kind of like.
He's perpetually excited, like, I guess like I am. I remember when I messaged you earlier this year, I was like, I'm really Popola, aren't I? My best. So my immediate thought was, by default, I'm going to give this to Kathy. Because, like, Kathy's great.
Yeah, Kathy was great.
And I was sad when she left. Then I thought, there's also Renee. But Renee, like, objectively, they crapped on Renee towards the end. I don't know why. But, like, they just had her doing less and less and less. And then I think overall, like, improvement, and lately on SmackDown, she's been showing more, like, character and sass. I'm going to give it to Braxton, just because Braxton's been there all year. And I think she does a great job of talking smack. She's fun on the bump. And I'm going to go Kayla.
Yeah, Kayla Braxton is my choice as well, just because of the talking smack stuff. It's the only real show in terms of WWE side of things that uses broadcast correspondences in any way worth watching.
Shout out to Heyman for bringing something fun out of Kayla, too.
I might have to start watching that more. I typically don't.
It's an easy 20-minute watch, even if you have it on the background and you're not looking at it. It's very good.
Let's see here. We're going to move on to commentator. Those are the people on commentary. There, we used to have Aiden English, John Quasto, and Mauro Ranallo. They are no longer on the teams. There are some people that did some temporary spots, like JBL was there for WrestleMania and Tribute to the Troops. There's Beth Phoenix, there's Corey Graves, Jerry Lawler, Byron Saxton, Andy Shepard, Michael Cole, Nigel McGuinness, Samoa Joe, Tom Phillips, Vic Joseph, Wade Barrett, and then there's all the international role. I can't even tell you all those people, but that's, Sean Dang and Meng Ai.
Remember, we can always give it to Kairi Sane this year for Japanese commentary. She did that at some point.
Funaki's always number one, so could always go with Funaki. Worst, I'm going Beth Phoenix. I hate to say it, but she's just not doing it for me.
It probably should go to Beth Phoenix, just because I just don't think that she's a very strong commentator in general. But because Tony's already given it to it, that gives me free reign to give it to Michael Cole.
That's right. That's why I didn't say
for being Michael Cole.
Yes. Yeah, I'm going Beth. I love Beth, but go ahead, Callum. Talk more about Michael Cole.
It boggles my mind that someone could be doing the same job for 20 plus years and still only be at the very most decent at his job. It's just he's never been. He has a couple of memorable calls, and one of them is him reading off a piece of paper when Shane McMahon fell off a Hell in a Cell. Obviously, that was like several years ago at this point, but he just is. Essentially, you could just replace him with a soundboard, and it wouldn't make any difference, really. Michael Cole is one of objectively the worst commentators in WWE's history, just because he's been there for so long and has never gotten any better.
I think Michael Cole's great at his job for what they want him to do, and it's unfortunate that's what they want him
Michael
to
Cole's
do.
got the worst job in the business. I feel bad for him.
I want to see what he does when he does eventually retire and he goes on to producing people. Because if he continues to just follow the company line and just makes, I don't know, Todd Phillips and Vic Joseph essentially just smaller, like newer versions of him, then that's going to be problematic. If he actually allows them to have a bit of personality that he has been pretty much stripped of his entire WWE tenure.
Let's see what happens when Vince retires and he's allowed to do what he wants. Because if Vince wants...
Well, I kind of wonder, like, if Vince goes, then Triple H might go, yeah, I'm not going to keep Michael Cole around that much longer, really. That's what my mindset is going at the very least.
Okay, so like we've established that Beth isn't great, but thinking about it, I think I'm gonna go with Samoa Joe because I don't like that Joe's a commentator, and for that simple reason, because they haven't said that he's retired. He keeps saying I'm gonna get back in the ring. So if you can get back in the ring, get back in the ring. Don't become 2020 Taz, you know? Because he started out good, and in recent weeks it's been floundering, and I don't want another Taz.
So for best, I'm gonna go Wade Barrett. There's just something about Barrett on commentary that I'm really enjoying. Like
you know why? Well, there's a good reason why you're going for Wade Barrett. Obviously, Wade Barrett is good, but the big reason is he hasn't yet been ruined by being on WWE commentary for longer than a few months.
Yeah, he hasn't been there too long. You know, all he's done has been just being himself.
Yeah, exactly. And then eventually they'll wear that out of him, and he'll just be a mouthpiece for the company shield thing. In the same way that I would have immediately this year given it to Samoa Joe, because Samoa Joe at the start of this year was absolutely great on commentary.
Yeah, he was another one that was on my list.
But now he's just saying ridiculous one-liners constantly and stuff like that. It's just like nothing. For me, it came down to in terms of like just three people that I had listed down were Samoa Joe, Wade Barrett, and Nigel McGuinness. Three people that have been in the ring, they know what they're talking about, and can actually try and tell a story because they have that insight into it. But Samoa Joe's gone watered down a little bit. I think I'll stick with Wade Barrett as well, just because I think he's doing a good job at the moment. But I highly doubt I'll be giving him the same award next year, considering the trend of WWE commentators.
So this is where my personal schedule comes in, and I have to be honest and say I haven't watched enough of NXT towards in Wade Barrett's tenure to say he's super good. So I'm gonna give it to Graves because I do watch SmackDown every week, and Graves is a delight to listen to over anybody on Raw, and of course Michael Cole. So I'm gonna give it to Corey Graves.
Wade Barrett has one of my favorite lines from this year, where on Halloween Vic Joseph was dressed up as Waldo, and he points out, "Hey, how come Wade didn't dress up?" And Wade's like, "I'm dressed up as my favorite superstar, Bad News Barrett."
He pulls out a gavel too, right?
Yeah. And Nigel had a really good line. I forget exactly what it was, but it was some kind of a dad joke. Oh, and an episode of 205 Live. Whatever the episode was, I remember mentioning it on like a hot tags or something. That was really good too.
See, you get the full scope of this because you watch everything, so you can really be the judge.
Except for main event, so I know that like they could be saying some crazy shit there, and I would have no idea. Then again, WWE, we wouldn't have any idea anyway. They could just be like making fart noises, and people would be like, "All right, take it, Hulu."
And there's just background music.
Might be. They just keep running like the 205 Live theme. But this is war. But this is war. They're just sort of like, that's good enough. People aren't watching this. It's Hulu. So those are the on-air personality awards. Go ahead and tell us your thoughts on those. Break down the best and the worst, like we just did. And as we've been saying here, if you're listening to us on the audio-only platforms, then we'll just be back in a moment. If you are listening to us on the YouTube side of things, hit the like button, hit the share button, hit the subscribe button, all the other kind of buttons that are out there. The applause one is great. The join button is great. The dislike is not one of those ones. I wish I could disable that. But hit all the other buttons other than that. And then also click on the next button or click on the next video or whatever it is, because the next section that we're going to get into is probably the biggest one out of all of them. This is the Wrestler Awards. So stay tuned, everybody.